ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this week's second Primetime Gaming Today. And of course, I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Folks, here's the thing. We are running a little behind. We are down several panel members because you know what? Life just sometimes happens. We obviously had Crispy moved over to Breakfast at Boom on Friday mornings. Keasante's wife is unfortunately fallen ill. She's not feeling well, so he's taking care of the kids and taking care of wifey. So he'll be back next week. Unfortunately, Everborn Saga has something to do with work, and we're still waiting to hear from Dutch. So it is so far me, Hargeet Chani, who was here this afternoon. We had a special edition, a breaking news edition of Primetime Gaming, and John Wolf making his debut on Primetime Gaming. I believe, John, you've been here before, but Hargeet, listen, besides the news happening today about the EU potentially passing, now there was some, towards the end of the podcast that we did today with King David and Everborn Saga and yourself, as well as Post Up, which was an amazing show. We had learned that the information that was being put out there was a couple of weeks old, but then we heard on the back end of that, Hargeet, that that Bloomberg has independently heard that this is what their decision is going to be. So obviously, if it does pass, we're going to be getting back into the ABK talk again. I thought most of us thought it was over, but Microsoft really needs this deal to go through for a multitude of reasons. And we heard Phil Spencer say that it's not their main plan, but it helps accelerate their main plan, which makes a lot of sense. So this evening, even though we'll get John's opinion on it, we're going to be talking about the ROG Ally, which is the new handheld that is going to be unveiled tomorrow. They're having the event tomorrow. And I think why there's an important conversation to be had, Hargeet, is that Microsoft head of hardware is going to be there as one of the keynote speakers. And that says to me, potential partnership. I mean, obviously, this actually, Hargeet, might be the Xbox handheld that we've all been asking for. Basically, for me, plug and play. Hargeet, how you feeling?
Yeah, good. Just started playing Redfall today, and it's fun. It's I don't know. I guess that I don't usually go for graphics, so I know people were looking for that to be a graphical powerhouse.
Right.
Yes, it's empty everywhere, but it's kind of expected to be. But you go into houses, and there's definitely stuff to do. So I don't know. So far, I'm only an hour in, so I'll just preface that. So
okay, there you go.
So far, it's not bad. Now, I also like arcane games, and that may not be for everybody, so that's fine. I'll see what it is for me. I know you seem to like it, but I'll see where it is for me.
You know what's interesting, Hargeet? Unlike you, usually I'm not an arcane guy. Like, I loved Dishonored 1. Absolutely loved it, right? Played it twice. I loved it so much. Didn't really get into 2. I for some reason, it didn't grab me like 1. Prey came out, and I played it initially, and I was like, okay, this is all right. It is what it is. And then when it got the Series X enhancement, I went back to it and I dropped 8 hours into it, and I was like, okay, I see what's going on here, just not for me. And then Deathloop came out, and this was Game of the Year Deathloop, and I bought it for the PlayStation 5 because it was, an exclusive for a bit. And I played about maybe 5 or 6 hours into it, and I was like, this kind of reminds me of Prey a little bit, not for me. And then when it released on the Xbox, I did another 6 hours, and I just realized that I did not like Deathloop at all. But the crazy thing is that I was head over heels for Redfall, which folks, if you didn't know, if you're not following me on Twitter, I put 55 hours in since its release, and I beat it last night after midnight, and it was freaking phenomenal. I mean, yes, it has technical issues, but I had #fun. I think that's what gaming is all about, right? So I had fun. I had so much fun with it. I started a second character. I started over again. Then of course I have to get into games like Ravenlock and Benedict Fox, which
I started that up and I like that one. So Ravenlock, I've played that a bit. I like it so far.
Ravenlock is really, really good. But
yeah,
Wolf, brother, listen, thanks so much for the save. This is my folks. I mean, literally minutes ago, I was like, "Hey, John, do you want to join?" He was like, "John, how you feeling, brother?"
Hold the line, Boom. Hold the line.
The line, indeed. King David's new hashtag. That is for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Boom, for sending the invite. And I know you need a little bit of help, so I just got off work. It just happened to work out, and I look forward to tackling these topics tonight, man. And Hargeet, I played Redfall for about 4 hours and change, and I started it up on PC when I got back from my trip from South Korea this past weekend. And brother, the performance, it's all over the place for me. I couldn't do it. And the thing is that, it's such a shame because I see it. I can see the potential, right? And every single time that I played it like 3 times. I've tried on 3 separate occasions just to kind of say, hey, you know what? Let's just get over the performance bugs and all that good stuff, and let's just focus in on the gameplay and try to enjoy it for what it is. And I just can't do it. The frame rate up and down all over the place. The enemies just clueless. There's so many other good games, man, that I need to play that I'm like I'll come back to this when it's fully baked. Right now,
are you playing solo or are you playing with friends?
I played solo the 3 times that I tried. I have heard on the various podcasts that I listen throughout the day while I'm working that with friends it really shines. I think Boom, I've heard you mention that as well. But it's a shame. It's a shame that Arcane didn't have the time to really polish and really give this game their full potential. I feel like if it's been rushed, I know that this isn't a topic and I'm going kind of deep here, but it's just that I'd like to see this game where it is in 6 months. And I'd like to revisit it. And I'm on this new thing now where day one is not for me anymore. I'm starting to see more and more that the games industry
is kind of across the board, right?
It's bad. I mean, Jedi Survivor is another one that kind of got me that way. I played it. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 hours, maybe even longer than that. I was quite enjoying it, and then I started getting hit with bugs, grabbing bugs to climb things. I lost twice a half hour on a save. It locked up. I got stuck in a wall, and John, you make a great point because there's something to be said about the industry going to this instead of let's get the game running right to let's ship it and we'll just patch it.
Yeah, with the combination of CD keys and waiting for the updates and the bugs to be fixed, Boom, I found a nice medium where now I'm getting games half off a few weeks later or a month later, and the patches come out, and I'm actually enjoying the all these games and their full potential and what they really should have been on day one.
It's it's unfortunate, right? I mean, obviously, you wait. We're all gamers here, right? It doesn't matter what platform you're on. Whether you own all 3, like many of us here, or you are, platform specific. That happens. And you wait. You hear a release is going to come out, and you're like, okay, great. I've been waiting for this game. It's a new IP, or it's a sequel, like Jedi Survivor. And it comes out, and it's funny that, and this is the thing that I find, guys. I know we're going a little off topic here, but it's very interesting. And again, I mean, Redfall got the smoke. It deserves the smoke. Microsoft, Phil Spencer. Obviously, we talked about this quite a bit on this channel. He can't. He did the hard interview. He was a little bit off kilter. His words obviously were taken out of context. I mean, I understood what he meant, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people used it as, console war, rhetoric, which is, expected. and it's crazy that we see that the industry as a whole is changing. And you are onto something, John. You said something. Obviously gaming's expensive, right, folks? Like when we buy a game, but I don't care what console it is. I mean, obviously you're not buying it if you have Game Pass, but if you're buying third-party games, you're paying full boat. And the question is, should you buy day one anymore? That's really what it comes down to. How many games have released perfect? Very few. The one that jumps off the page, and this is the
Hi-Fi Rush.
I was just gonna say that's a shadow drop. Like that's that shadow dropped out of nowhere, and the game is like honestly probably one of the more perfect games I've played in a decade. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Dead Island 2, apparently, even after all
the
issues
delays
in making that game. Yeah,
I'm seeing it across the board,
good.
man. And more and more, I'm like getting used to. I've already gotten past the FOMO. Where before, I was a victim of the FOMO where, oh no, this game's coming out, really excited. Let me pre-order, let me do all these things. And, after a while of getting bit in the butt, you kind of start, let me sit back a little bit. Okay, the patches are coming out, and you know what? CD Keys has become my best friend. I got the app right here, boom. And I'm getting games like almost half off in a few weeks, 3 weeks pass. And that's when all these patches are coming in. Right now, I'm in a good place, man.
Well, I mean,
this podcast sponsored by CD Keys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much.
If they want to sponsor the channel, I'm more than happy to take that money. There's no doubt about
that.
I stopped pre-ordering a while ago too, because this is what happens most of the time.
Yeah.
Plus, the quality of games. It used to be like, hey, this is always going to be a good game. That fell off, and I'm like, okay, like Anthem, right? I got that, and I'm like, this was not what I wanted, and so it just after that, I'm like, forget it. I'm not going to pre-order. I need to see what the game is, and then I'll get it, right? So the only game I'd like pre-order is Zelda. The game of the year, Zelda is
game of the year, Zelda. It's funny because that's obviously which I wasn't powering through. I had done like a game that people will do 20 hours in. I'll do 50 because I like to check every nook and cranny of a map. Like I found weapons that a lot of people didn't even know existed in Redfall. I mean, they're similar sniper rifles, but I had a handgun that was doing over 1,000 damage. Like, nice. It was crazy. So I would go into every house, everywhere I could find my way to go. I found a way to go in there. I did every side mission. I found every underboss. It was great. I had an amazing time. So I was hoping that I wouldn't be stuck with it because I don't like last year I did the cardinal sin of gaming. I played too many games at the same time, and I never finished anything, and that annoys the S out of me, to be honest with you.
I'm kind of there right now, Boom. I'm jumping in between things, man, and I just gotta hunker down and just concentrate on one at a time because I'm exactly where you are right now.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this. Getting back to Zelda, I don't know if anyone knows this, and I talk about this all the time. Every now and again, Nintendo, the eShop, or you go to Nintendo, you go to the Nintendo.com, they have these vouchers that you buy for $50. You buy a $100 voucher, and you're allowed to pick 2 games of your choice. I did that with Zelda. I picked Zelda and Pikmin 4. I think it is. I was going to say 3, 4.
I did the same.
And
thing.
Zelda's the first $70 game. I paid $50, and it's already downloaded. It's already ready on the system, ready to go. I mean, I can't play it yet until Friday, I'm stopping everything to play that. Which I'm glad I beat Redfall because now Zelda is going to take my life. Oh snap! Steel Rain, what's going on,
brother? Can you hear me? Am I coming?
Yes, hear you.
We do hear you, brother.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hey, I saw there was a slot open. Y'all were a 3-man, and then it's usually like a 5 or 6 man going on.
It's actually it's usually 7 people, but yeah, today's one of those days, man. Everyone had some real life stuff happening, so here we are, and well, here you are, Steel. How you doing, brother? And folks, if you don't know who Steel Rain is, this is the gentleman that keeps it real each and every Saturday on Living Split Screen with Pong Soul. And guess what? He gives you that RTS view of gaming.
Sir.
Talk about it, brother. Welcome.
Hey, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, and I am him, the one and only Steel Rain, and I'm glad I was able to sneak through the back door. And while you guys were mid-meeting and really grab a chair and sit down, man, there's a lot of interesting things that have been going on. What you guys were just talking about, like what you've been playing? I heard you guys talking about a little bit of Redfall.
Yeah, we talked a little bit of Redfall. We were talking about Jedi Fallen Order having, like bugs being a big issue in gaming.
Shout out to Jedi Survivor. I beat that game, put about 60 hours into it. Beat it on Jedi Master.
Nice.
Not Grandmaster. I wasn't trying to give myself that headache, especially with some of the performance issues. Mid-fight and things like that with the frames dropping on PC. But to be quite honest, I didn't have as many issues as some others, but nonetheless, I definitely have to talk about them. For me personally, I'm giving the game a 9 out of 10. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 is because of those performance issues. So,
all right, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, listen,
I got a question, Boom. I got a quick question real fast. All right, I posted something on my Twitter today, and Steel, you brought it up, brother. So I got to ask, Team Cal or Star Killer? Because I'm a Star Killer type of guy.
Well, you see, we're talking about somebody who has had to be written off because he was broken, right? I don't see Cal pulling a Star Destroyer from out of the sky. I just don't see that happening. Not yet. But as far as character development goes, though, I think Cal is lining up to be the better overall character with more depth to him, where Star Killer was kind of lacking. He was really more so in that finesse stage, especially, and I can only come from this perspective because I just played Unleashed 1 and 2 here this past year for the first time ever. So I have that direct comparison to make. And yeah, especially from his growth from Fallen Order to Jedi Survivor, Jedi Survivor is at least tenfold the game that Fallen Order was. So
nice.
Yeah, nice. Hey, listen, look at this. Now we got a party. Crispy Bomb is in the house. Crispy, I saw the picture of you, barbecuing some chicken. I didn't expect you to be here, brother. How are you?
Oh man, I am finished dinner, and I'm one of those people like I'm the last person to eat anyway. That's kind of how it is.
When you're the cook, of course you're the last person to eat.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Like I hopped in I'm like, man, there's only 3 people. What's going on here? So I had to jump in. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're all family, and we got your back. You know what I'm saying? Like everything happens. Like I left here, but I'm home today, and there's nothing going on really, except, I cook dinner, but I can eat whenever. So, it's good to be here. And, it's just great that, we're seeing some good things from Xbox at this point, because it wasn't.
It was a bad couple of weeks. And Crispy, thanks so much for joining us, brother. Definitely super appreciate that. We have 2 topics to get into, and we're going to jump right into it because yesterday on Twitter, Jez Corden, who's a rebel rouser, like he says he's not an insider. Jez Corden, I'm looking at you, Mr. Mayo and tuna fish and spaghetti. You're a rebel rouser because he does things in such a cool, but I'm gonna poke at you kind of a way. He did something funny last night. He goes, I'm hearing rumors about the Xbox showcase that has me excited. Now, normally he's very, 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 level, and he's grounded, and he doesn't really get excited, right? I mean, we know he has fun, but he doesn't really get excited unless, of course, he's drunk, which occasionally it happens on the Xbox 2 podcast. So what happened yesterday to stoke the Jez Corden fires is a good friend of the community. I would even dare say great friend of the community. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Xbox showcase in 2019 at E3. Of course, I'm talking about Aaron Greenberg. Aaron, or Greeny as he's known to many, did something that that wasn't too unusual for Aaron Greenberg. He changed his picture on Twitter. And folks, if you've been seeing the picture going around, there's a lot of swirling happening with this particular picture. It's an Xbox sign, and what I'll do is I'll download it and I'll throw it up on the screen if you haven't seen it for yourself. But what is in the picture is why people are getting excited, because the picture, if you are someone that has been following Avowed and Hellblade, both of those games are represented in this artist workup that he has now put on to his Twitter picture. If you look, if like I said, go to Twitter, look at his picture, hit on it. It has bodies hanging as if they were hanging from trees in Hellblade 2. And if you look really close, the arrows that are pointing outwards are from Avowed. So we're now starting to hear, Hargeet Chani, that these two games are not only going to be there, but I have heard some rumblings that they may open and close the show. And I'm not talking about trailers. I'm not talking about CG trailers. I'm talking about full on, I'm going to punch you in the balls gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Xbox needs to do. This is what they need to do. They need to silence the critics. Phil came out there on Kind of Funny with that amazing crew from XCast, and even though he wasn't feeling right, and even though he's down, he's talked about it, Cranky Phil, he said, and this is one of the things, Hargeet, that people they leave out of the conversation when he says, even if you make great games, it's not going to change, our market position. They forgot to mention and keep in the conversation that he says, listen, I can't say that I can't tell you anything more until you have a controller in your hand and you're smiling. Right? That's what he said, which people seem to leave out. He also said in that conversation that he sees the one AAA game per quarter materializing and being realized. Let's get your take on these swirling rumors. Obviously Sony hasn't had a show in 2 years, and I'm going to tell you this right now, folks. If you don't think that Jim Ryan and Sony are going to put on an outstanding, ridiculous, potentially Year of Dreams Part 2 showcase, you are sleeping at the wheel, because they haven't gone in 2 years, Hargeet. So the question is, Microsoft came over some really bad news. Obviously the block from the CMA, it hurt, right? They were broadsided by it. We talked about it today. They didn't expect that, and private conversations that we've heard about suggest that. Minecraft didn't hit like they expected. 3 million players is great, but I'm sure they expected more. And then the Redfall fiasco wasn't good. So we kind of thought, at least I did anyway, all this bad news, maybe they're limping into the showcase, right? And now the pressure's on. The pressure's on Starfield. The pressure's on Xbox Game Studios. The pressure's on Matt Booty to show what they can show. What are your thoughts on potentially Avowed and Hellblade getting gameplay, actual gameplay, opening and closing the show?
Yeah, I mean, look, so last year's showcase was kind of meh, and it was
mid
because they showed some games, but it was like, well, there's nothing in 2022. And I actually asked that of Matt Booty, like, what's happening with 2022? It's like, look, all these games, they're just not ready, but we're gonna blow you away next year. Well, it's next year, so it's time to get blown away, right? So it's about time, right? These games have been announced for a while now, and it's about time we actually see them, right? And I hope they're actually releasing soon too. We keep hearing rumors that maybe Hellblade's coming near the end of the year here. That'd be great. Avowed maybe beginning of next year, right? So that would be their first quarter next year AAA game. We got a bunch of games to catch up, which has always been our problem, right? We haven't really even caught up from 2022, right? We always said that, hey, you can't just release what you've told us about in the last showcase. You got to add more games, and that would you got to have something for us for this year, right? So I hope that's Hellblade that comes out at the end of the year, and then we get Avowed as the beginning, and then we'll see maybe something comes up at the Game Awards as what's going to come out maybe in the before June timeframe, and then we go from there. But they owe us a whole bunch of announcements, right? We don't know what Compulsion's doing in Exile, right? There's State of the Gate.
The Coalition, what are they doing?
Right? Coalition was working on something, which I heard was just shut down because they didn't think it was going to go anywhere, and they're now full bore on Gear 6. I don't know when that's coming, but I'll give Coalition a pass. They basically carried the Xbox One gen, so they can take some time and figure out what they want to do with UE5. But yeah, we have a whole bunch of studios, right? So let's see where they are, right? And Hellblade would be a good one. So the thing is that everybody wants to see a graphical showcase, right? A graphical showpiece, right? And Forza will be that, right? Forza Motorsport, that will be one of them. But
right.
That's not what people want. They also want something adventure-y, and that's going to be Hellblade, right? So
yeah,
I don't know that a Starfield is intended to be a graphical showcase because it's got a lot of systems. The whole point of that game is an RPG. It's not intended to show you massive. It's going to be good. I'm sure it'll be great. But if you look at Skyrim or a Fallout, they're not exactly the most graphically intense things. But that's the intent. It's intended to be an RPG. So I don't know that it'll be that good. It'll probably be decent, right? But I think the thing that people want to see is something that drives the graphics up all the way. And so far, what we've seen of Hellblade has been pretty stellar.
Yeah,
and hopefully it'll actually do it, right? It'll actually deliver. So if that comes out sometime, maybe like a November timeframe or something like that, that'd be great. They need to bring a whole bunch of other things, but yeah, hearing that beginning end, those aren't bad. However, I would like to see other things, like something we haven't seen in the show, right? So I want to see that one more thing, right? And if it's something that's like big third party, that's cool. If it's something we haven't seen, like there's studios at ZeniMax, they're working on stuff we haven't heard anything about. There's Indiana Jones, but we have heard about it. But things like I want to see new stuff, and we've seen Hellblade quite a bit. We've seen the Avowed release, at least as far as like we know it's coming, right? So we saw that announced trailer, so it's coming at some point, right? But I want to see stuff that we haven't seen, and that should be there one more thing. So I don't want to see one of these be the end. I'd rather it be something that's new, right?
Yeah.
Something that we haven't seen yet. But that's just me.
No, I mean that's fair. I mean, the one thing, like I said, we can take away from the interview with Kinda Funny was that Phil said that we're going to get some new reveals of games that they have never shown us before. We're going to and when Paris Lily had specifically asked about Fable, and he asked about State of Decay 3, and he asked about Avowed, and he asked about Hellblade. Phil Spencer said, "Yeah, we're going to give you updates to some of the games that you mentioned on your list." Now, he didn't specifically say what games. I know there was a big update, free update for State of Decay 2, that dropped today. I would love to see what they're doing with that. I know that the Coalition, speaking of Coalition, we're helping them with Unreal Engine, because Unreal Engine 5 is the engine that's going to be running State of Decay 3. I would love to see that game come out and be State of Decay, but I also have said this, and maybe I'm the only guy in the room. It's got to be high quality, but I think that there's something to be said about offering up a single player mode that gives you a story that you can play, follow, because, like, for instance, the character that they showed originally in the trailer debut that was yelling at this deer that had turned into like a zombie deer, I want to play as her. I want to know her story. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've played State of Decay. I put 60 hours into State of Decay 2. I quite loved it, but I only played it single player, because I'm a single player kind of a guy. Yeah. So I was hoping that, because everything, the studio has expanded, the game has gotten bigger, maybe this is an atypical Microsoft or Xbox release. You get the Days Gone kind of a single player story, but if you want to play with your buddies and you can have you can do that.
You get the survival mode.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a possibility. I mean, one of the things that's interesting here is, even besides those, is the two bigger games that aren't seemingly in the mix, and I'm hoping they do make it in, Fable and Perfect Dark.
Yes.
And I don't know where they are in the development phases there, but those are also big games, and if they're not ready to be shown, that just means it's even that much longer. So we're looking at 25, 26 at least. So I don't know. Those are games I would like to see, but we'll see what they do with it, right? So it's time to see some gameplay. It's time to see those games beyond just a trailer, right? We need to get something.
Yeah, I agree. We mentioned Coalition, so I got to bring Crispy Brown right into the conversation. Crispy, obviously, the Coalition not only helped guide the Xbox One through its entire generation, but they have been helping team after team after team. We know that they had a game in development that was canceled. I don't know if that was Gears related. I don't know if it was a new IP. I don't know if maybe it was a Matrix game, because obviously they did the UE5 Matrix demo. But I mean, are you like, do you need to see or get an update on Gear 6, or you're just happy that you know that they're working on it?
I don't have any hope that Gear 6 will come out within the next year to 2 years. Maybe at the end of 2 years, possibly. I feel they've become an extremely important studio, like so important because so many studios that aren't, basically masterminds when it comes to Unreal, are starting to use this, so you look at it and you say, you see this story, and then like, it's like, yeah, they say they send, like people that do certain things that involve Unreal because it's not working for those teams. And that's the one thing. Most of those are, they're not part of ZeniMax. And that's where I go and said, you didn't bring in and Phil said it, he didn't bring in the big dogs until it was too late. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, Redfall's running on UE, bro. Like, you have some masters at UE. Even Ninja Theory needs little to no help with UE. They know what they're doing with it. Okay, they might have one or two guys come in there real quick, put some textures on, change a few things. But I feel like the Coalition has become a support studio. It breaks my heart. I'm hopeful that they will do the Phoenix Collection and do it justice, because I think like every Xbox gamer wants that done, because anybody that's played those games even now knows that those games do not run the way games run now, especially being a Gears game. So with that said, I look at this entire showcase and I say, after all of this BS, good, bad, ugly, in between,
Yeah,
you gotta rally the troops, Phil. We got so many games that we got little snippets, hey, we're working on this. Hey, it's a CG trailer. You got so many games in the stable right now that we know about that we haven't seen gameplay. Yep. Give us a lot of gameplay. It doesn't have to all be gameplay, but I want a ton of it. I want half the show to have gameplay in it.
There you go.
Okay. I want Perfect Dark. I want to see actual gameplay. Okay. Hellblade 2. Yeah, we've seen it. And that's where you go and say it could release this year. You know what I'm saying? But make that announcement. That would be a bombshell. That will shut a lot of people that are naysayers up, because they know what they've seen already and how capable Ninja Theory is. So you look at that. I mean, what is Compulsion working on? We don't know. It could be a big IP for all we know. You know what I mean? And they took that on because nobody else wanted to touch it or something like that. These things do happen. I mean, Contraband, it sounds like it could be a multiplayer juggernaut for all we know. Let's see some gameplay. Let's see what your thought process is about this, more than just, your synopsis of what you said. We want to see these things, okay? But we want to see them in game in some way, shape, or form. And I want it running on the Series X or S, Phil. Yeah. I don't want to run it on a PC.
Yep.
And you put it in big letters at the bottom. You say Series X.
Yeah.
Footage, Series X, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, go for your high end and know, hey, you can even put a disclaimer out later on Twitter or something. Hey, if it's running on the Series S, it'll be less. Be completely transparent in what's going on. What frames are going to happen for games that are coming out in the near future? How much frames per second we're going to get? I mean, people dog, Redfall, but Plague's Tale Requiem just came out with a 60 FPS update. When that game come out? You know what I'm saying?
Last year.
So I caution people to relax because, you know, even if a game's running at 60 FPS, they targeted 4K, and that was an Xbox problem. PlayStation targeted 1440p, if everybody remembers. Okay. And they actually did the right thing because there's too much development involved in this new architectures. Okay. They are totally different from what they've worked with before. And not only that, Xbox has prioritized, and let's be honest, PC at times. And that is not acceptable, me as an Xbox gamer. So I want to be catered to, Phil. I want Xbox, the actual console, to have a little love. And that's all I'm asking.
I don't think you're asking for too much. We all bought the console for $500 on the promise that it's the most powerful console in gaming and that it can do VRR and it can do 4K 60, right? And these are all the promises, you know, machine learning and you know, and all the bells and whistles,
etc.
Yeah, of course, all of that. John, let's bring you in on the conversation because obviously, and here's the thing, guys. Before we move on to the Ally, which again, I'm a tech guy, but I'm not a tech guy. I'm buying that, and I'm getting the $700 one because if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go big.
Pause.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. Pause. Thank you. I am gonna come back around to everybody because I have 3 questions now. I have to kind of do a quick pivot and say where these questions came from, and I have to give credit where credit is due. I was listening to the near 5-hour Xbox 2 podcast in the beginning of the week. I use that, you know, when I'm cleaning or I'm working out or whatever. I listen to a podcast that I like. I love Rand. I love Jez Corden. So, you know, I'm listening to them. And towards the end of the show, they had asked one of the Patreon supporters asked a couple of questions, and I'm going to bring this back around. So I'm going to say the questions for the chat as well. And we have almost 500. We have over 500 people here.
Hey.
Yeah. So here's the questions that I'm going to give for the panel and the chat. And the 3 questions go: what game do you expect at the show? What game or what title are you hoping for? And what surprise do you want? So those are the 3 questions, and I will reread those questions for everyone. But John, I mean, look, you know, I kind of feel like the last couple of years for Xbox gamers, we've always come to this part in May where we're like, oh man, June is gonna be big, or it's gotta be, you know, there's gotta be bells and whistles. And you know, some shows they hit, some shows like last year did not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a fine show, but I think what soured me was the fact that, hey man, this is what we got for the next 12 months. And
I'm going to call it for what it is. It was false advertising. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but
it kind of was. And Phil Spencer was a little grumpy about that. You know, he actually interrupted, you know, because they tried to softball the question, and no, he shouted himself out on Paris. I mean, was like, yeah, you kind of didn't do it. He goes, no, hold on, we didn't do it. So
exactly. So if you're gonna that's why remove any type of advertisement of 12 months if you already saw that things can happen within development, and you may not be able to hit those dates because as you know, as a consumer, you can only get burnt so many times before you start looking at companies with a side eye. All right. And we're all gamers here. The chat, everybody understands how gaming works. There's going to be delays. Delays sometimes are a good thing. I think for Redfall, a delay would have been a great thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we all know how this works, but at the same time, we're consumers. And for me personally, I don't like any company blowing smoke up my you-know-what. Okay. Give it to me straight, and just, if you're not sure about it, don't put a date. That's all I'm going to say about that. But me and Crispy are in line, Boom, with pretty much everything. I second what Crispy was saying. And there, if I'm Phil Spencer, there's 3 goals that I need to hit with this C3. Okay. The first one is that the stigma, the stink, that Xbox has no first-party games needs to be addressed first and foremost, front and center. All right. And the only way they're going to accomplish that is by doing exactly what Crispy was saying. 2020 E3, that E3 was amazing with all the reveals. The Bethesda thing was fresh. They announced a bunch of stuff. We need to see gameplay for all that stuff this year, no exceptions, and no exceptions. We need to see Contraband gameplay, Avowed, Perfect Dark, Fable, Indiana Jones, Hellblade 2, with a date. That's the very first game that they announced with the Series X, and we have no date. That needs to change. Okay, they need to put a solid date on that, and not only put a solid date, but do a Peter Moore and tattoo that sucker to your butt cheek if you have to. Okay, because this is if this is grumpy Phil, which I kind of prefer to get the job done. If this is kind of the attitude and kind of what he had to portray in that interview to get the message across to the troops, it needed to be. All right. Again, we're all very patient. I'm not going anywhere. No one on this panel is going anywhere. We're all Xbox gamers. We're here through thick and thin. But again, don't blow smoke up our butts. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
And the thing is that, you know, they showed so many reveals that it's time for those payoffs. So the very first goal that Phil Spencer has to check off on that checklist is we need to shut everybody up and show them that Xbox has first-party titles coming. They look like big AAA titles that people can get excited for. And then they need to hit those dates and those promises. And once they do that, all this stigma and all this noise that you hear across Twitter and the internet about Xbox and it's Phil and management and all that good stuff is going to go away. They're not going to have that stigma anymore. And guess what? And this is why Redfall disappointed me so much. They should have already known this. And Redfall should have been given that care so it could have started the slate like we all thought it would. So I hope that it was a learning lesson. Phil was extremely, in my opinion, embarrassed in that interview, and I hope that they got the message, because I think that as Xbox gamers and consumers, we're pretty loud and clear with that message. The second goal is that they need, like Crispy said, reassure the Xbox console gamer. And how they're going to do that is by showing at least 80 to 90% of gameplay running on either a Series S or X hardware.
Yeah.
That is the way that you reassure your gamer and you say, guys, this is what's coming to, like Phil said, our most dedicated consumer, the one that spends the most money on us. They need to do that, because right now, like many have said in the community, it starting to feel like a second-class citizen. Okay, and we have Xbox diehards saying that you don't want your most loyal consumers to think that, not even for 1 second. So even though that this generation, I've kind of gone more on the PC side, and I still love my Xbox, but I find myself going more on the PC side. I'm enjoying the higher frames and stuff like that, and the discounts like I talked about earlier in the show. I still want them to concentrate on their bread and butter, and that's the Xbox console. Okay. And the third and last thing that they need to focus on is growing Game Pass. Okay. Because this past year, okay, as soon as they announced that ABK deal, everything went on halt. Okay. We understand the business side of it. We understand that they need to not appear like if they're taking over gaming for the deal to go through for the sake of the deal. But Game Pass needs they need to announce at least 1, 2, or even 3 big third-party Game Pass day one exclusives. No exceptions.
I got one as a rumor, and I think Steele's gonna like this. There's a rumor floating around that Armor Core 6
Nice.
is going to be one of those games.
Yeah,
Announced at this show.
Me and Paul had some speculation about that last Saturday, man.
Mhm.
We've been talking about that in the background. It's a high possibility.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. And you know, if you really think about everything that I've said, I don't think I'm asking much from them. Okay, I'm just asking for them to deliver on their promises with the first party, reassure the console gamer that has purchased their console, and lastly, feed Game Pass. That's only going to lead them to grow. And I think if they hit those three things and Phil really focuses on that, boom, this is going to be a hell of an E3.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Listen, Steele, let's bring you into the conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, when we get close to showtime, which is of course usually the first couple of weeks of the first week and a half of June, we get the E3 blowout. EA, has their thing. Nintendo has their thing. PlayStation is finally doing something the week of the 25th, according to Jeff Grubb. And again, the Xbox, Jez Corden says that he's getting excited. He's not going to spoil anything because he doesn't want to be that guy, but he's heard some things that has gotten him excited for the show. Now they're rumors, right? I think it's safe to say that Greeny would not have changed his picture and had both Avowed and Hellblade incorporated into it for no reason. And obviously you have to look for it. Like, you can just overlook it and not pay it any attention. When you look at the finite details of that artwork, it's clearly that those are the two games that they're referring to, which is, it makes sense. It's time for us to see Avowed, and it's time to get a release date. We've been hearing for quite some time that Hellblade is going to potentially be a fall November game, coming after September, which is Starfield. We're expecting that October, which it normally is going to be for Motorsport, and November would be a nice month for Hellblade 2. Not that many games coming out, except, there's something Call of Duty is coming out for sure, but Hellblade is a different game. Where do you kind of fall with what they need to do for this showcase and the rumors starting to circulate?
I think the biggest thing that they need to do, and it's something that we've been asking for them for some time. Well, I guess it depends on who you are. Since I look at every showcase in its own little vacuum, that's something that me and Pong always talk about and tend to favor. And I know it's different from most people probably, but because I do look at it in a vacuum, I want them to do something similar to Sony, to where you got to give us hopes and dreams at this point. You have to sell your console base on why they should continue to stay invested, what you have upcoming, and why they should be excited, right? A Hellblade 2 has a possibility of doing that, getting Motorsport back on the stage and back on the forefront and being a main proponent in showing us, hey, like it used to, like racing games used to do back in the day. Hey, this is what the power of your console really looks like. This is what's possible. Hey, we were able to do ray tracing and do all these other great things in this game. And I know a lot of people are going to end up writing that off regardless, which is unfortunate. Then say, oh, it's just a racing game. But let's be honest, most people don't even understand what goes into that, how demanding those games are in comparison. So that's one start, at least for me personally. The other places are, you gotta come somewhere from left field. I heard you mentioning it this week, and it's something that I've always thought about. But you have to get, I'm not saying that it has to be a Spider-Man or anything like that, but you do have to get at least a Punisher or a Spawn or something or someone.
Something Zeitgeist hero related. And shout out to PTK Blam, who actually put out a poll on Twitter. He's basically, and this was a great post. I hope he uses it in his Saturday show. He put, pick a Marvel or pick a hero character, match it with an Xbox first party studio. I picked Punisher Coalition. That's what I picked because I think they would be awesome.
What about the Defenders?
Yeah.
What about the Defenders?
Yeah, I mean, it would be possible for sure, but the only thing that's negative to me about that is that Coalition wouldn't necessarily be available. That would definitely be a dream.
But
The only thing about that whole hero conversation is currently I don't know who Xbox has underneath their belt that would be able to create one and it be successful. Again, a team like Insomniac coming around to work on a Spider-Man, there is no other studio that would have created Spider-Man the way that it is right now.
No, I agree.
That 2018 Spider-Man, there's nobody else who would have been able to do that. And opportunities like that only come around literally once in a lifetime.
That's why Sony bought them for $300 million, because they are a ridiculous studio.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they didn't know that at the time, but I'm knowing Sony and the type of investment that they do put into their studios as far as being on top of them, checking in with them, where you don't see Xbox quite doing that for whichever reason, which is, the whole situation with Redfall is completely different with something else and adds on to the conversation, but that's a different conversation. But
yeah, if you weren't with that, do you look, Phil has been very reticent to do any of those because of the stupid licensing, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If ABK goes through, and it looks like it might, they made a bunch of Spider-Man games. Would those come to Game Pass? Yeah. I don't think they can because of licensing. Yeah, and that's kind of the headache. He's like, he doesn't want to deal with that, right? So, but what they could do is say they could go get the marketing rights for Wonder Woman.
I was going
to maybe even try to make that exclusive for a 6-month period.
That was about to be exact next
something
point.
Something like that, because somebody else has made it.
I mean, honestly, at this point, you see the type of games that Sony is playing with you, and they're making it as difficult as they are. And now you have evidence on the table saying that, hey, yeah, Sony cuts these deals to make sure that we're left out, that these people can't talk to us while they have this deal going on. So we might as well go to Monolith and say, hey, Monolith, we'll help you develop the rest of this game. Oh, you got the Nemesis engine? Okay, well, what money do you need to make sure that this is the best Wonder Woman game? Or not only that, but since you are the creators of the Shadow of War series, Shadow of Mordor, those are great games. What do we need to do to add an extra level of oomph to your game? The Shadow games had a multiplayer element to it. A lot of people don't realize that or forgot about it, where you can kind of go against or you raid somebody else's basically their castle or whatever the case. I forgot the direct term. What can Xbox do to maybe iterate on something like that? Again, the thing that kills me most about Xbox, and this is the unfortunate thing about like Gears and Halo, is that Xbox came into the space and has made themselves known as the multiplayer box. Why did you drop the ball on that? The same way that Sony has dropped the ball on making multiplayer games, period. Yep. Why didn't you continue to put your foot on the neck and say, you know what? We got to double, triple down on what Coalition is doing, what 343 is doing. Hey, we got to make sure we're on top of everything because this is what we specialize in. And when you don't, and that's what you're known for, now you have all these other questions where people are like, again, King David says, hold the line. I have never lost faith in what Xbox is going to do. Yeah. But I also, again, I look at gaming from an RTS view. It's not about one side or the other side. It's about how are they competing with each other? What does the space look like? And how is everybody competing with each other? And what are they giving me? So overall, hopes and dreams for me is the biggest thing. I want them to cut them more. I want to see them cut more deals in the East, especially South Korea. There's so many devs that are just on the up and up in that style of game.
Dude, they need to invest in Korea, dude. Some of the studios that are coming out of Korea are just
incredible.
The game from the game Chrono Odyssey from NSoft. They need to go get that like tomorrow. That's an MMO. You can directly tie that with Xbox. I'm pretty sure because that's how a lot of those studios end up starting off.
Well, I mean, they advertised it, so I kind of wonder, Steel, do they have something with them? Because remember, they put out the video.
See, the only thing about that, Boom, is that I said the exact same thing. I do see more marketing for Xbox for that game than I do for PlayStation. But then you go to the PlayStation YouTube channel, and the view count on that has almost quadruple the amount that it does on the Xbox side of things. So it's like, that studio might be sitting back and saying, wow, well, look at the engagement that PlayStation is giving us. Oh, maybe we start those conversations. But again, Xbox has to be more aggressive. They have to cut more third-party deals. There is no more waiting now, right? You've lost all these opportunities to wait, even to your average consumer. The more of us that get out there and talk about the negatives of what's going on, because we do talk about the positives, but there are a lot of these push and pull kind of scenario going on. The worst is going to be for Xbox, because like Phil mentioned in that interview, and I believe it's only because it's something that I've noticed since Xbox has come onto the scene, and is that they're always going to have that negative connotation, no matter what they do. So the only thing you could do at this point, if you're going to play the game differently, cut those third-party deals, make sure that you got constant content, and if first party isn't going to be your end all to be all, then you have to make sure that you're covered on every front. So
yeah,
that's what I want to say.
1000%. And you know something, it's one of those situations where Sony can give, Sony can say, we're going to pay you this for the marketing rights. Microsoft is probably going to have to pay double.
Yeah, no,
because of the fact that they're, I mean, this console generation is close. I mean, we just heard from VGC charts where it's the lead worldwide for console sales is just a tad under 15 million for the PlayStation 5 versus the Series X and the S. We know that the Series X and S are having production issues. They can't get, I mean, you can put on your tinfoil hat and say, yeah, they slowed production because they wanted to look weak for regulators. I mean, that's kind of been a talk, but yeah, I mean, listen, this E3 is going to be, it's not going to destroy the brand, but I think that what the general consensus from the panel here and from many people in the chat are that console owners kind of feel like we're just being ignored. Now, I personally don't, because I can't keep up with the games that are in Xbox Game Pass. I'm not making excuses for them. They need to deliver their first party. If you and we see this with Sony, or actually, hold on, let me rewind it. We actually saw this with Sony during 2018, 2019, and 2020. And when you have big AAA experiences that are zeitgeist conversations for the normies, for the casuals, as well as the hardcore, the smaller games that release around them get elevated to a higher level because of what is there. That when Microsoft starts hitting on all cylinders, and Phil said that they're there, they have, he sees the one per quarter, the one AAA game per quarter that they promised. He sees it. It's happening. If they can hit that, games that release around it, like a Benedict Fox, will be elevated, like a Ravenlock, elevated, like Planet of Lana that's releasing at the end of the month. That game looks stellar, but it will be elevated because of the prowess of their first party. Now, I'm gonna go back around, and I'm gonna go to Hargeet first on this. And the chat, please, by all means, answer the questions. Throw up your answers. The question, very simply, or the questions, I should say, and this comes the way of the Xbox 2. I'm sorry, I stole it from you guys, but this was too good, so I had to steal it. What game do you expect at the show? What Xbox title are you hoping to be at the show? And what surprise game do you want at the show?
Well, so expecting, it's like Hellblade 2, just they have to show that, right?
Right.
So Hellblade 2, I'm expecting that to be there. I mean, beyond the obvious, we're gonna see Forza again, right? Forza Motorsport, and hopefully with a release date. So that's kind of gonna be there. But I'm hoping Hellblade shows up with a release sometime this fall. You wanted what am I expecting? What I'd like to see.
What are you hoping for, right? and what surprise are you hoping for?
Yeah, so what I'd like to see is, and this is only Xbox Studios, right? Is the In Exile game, and it's another Avowed like or even Starfield like RPG, right? So something that they've been doing RPGs, but they've been smaller budget, right? They're trying to expand that. I want to see what they can do with a bigger budget, right? So I'd like to see what that is. And then a surprise, if it can be anything, I would like them to, get the marketing for GTA 6. I think they should get that.
Holy crap, that would be huge, dude.
And if they can do anything to make it have any level of exclusivity, that'd be ultra fantastic. But just getting the marketing rights, right? Get that for GTA 6. and then make sure you send your teams over to make sure
Well,
that
Strauss
game
and Phil Spencer, they're
on-
very close, Hargeet.
But the last game that studio put out was marketed by Sony, right? So I want to see them do that, and then make sure that they send their teams over to Rockstar to make sure that that game works perfectly on the Series S and X.
Right.
It takes advantage of all the power that's there. So that's what I'd like to see.
Pick.
But if that's a possibility, that's what I'm looking for.
I love it. I love the pick. Well, listen, before we bring in Crispy Bomb, I'm going to give you my picks. I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised. Now, for me, and the question was what I expect there. I expect Avowed. And I'm not talking about a trailer. I'm talking about I want to see gameplay. This game has been in development well before Microsoft purchased them.
Mhm.
This is the game. Again, I've heard this behind the scenes. I don't know if it's true. I wasn't a fly on the wall, but from what I understand, this game, Avowed, was what did in the purchase for Microsoft. Say we want to acquire Obsidian, which is one of the best. This is what I've heard. Now, is it true? I don't know. I mean, I'm only telling you what I was told. So Avowed got to be there. What I'm looking for in regards to what I'm hoping for. Well, I'm hoping for some updates to Killer Instinct in some way. I've been banging this drum for ever. I find it that Sony has taken over the fighting scene. Like it's Sony's game to lose at this point. When you have a franchise like Killer Instinct that by all rights should have died on the N64, right, and just never came back. Somehow or another, the game made its way back as a launch title. Play that game right now to this day, and it's freaking amazing. That's why everyone's like, "Oh, the Xbox One is the worst. Sucks." I got to tell you, the first couple of years of the Xbox One had amazing first-party games. That being one of them. It saw the original team was sold to Amazon, and then Amazon dissolved them. They're gone. The second team came in, and it was like they didn't miss a beat. They don't have that team because that team was out there doing their own free-to-play game that didn't do so well. So they might, I think they might have sunsetted the game. I mean, there's so many talented studios. We've heard so many different things. We heard Maximilian Dude, who I'm a big fan of that guy. If you don't know who he is, that guy has like over 1 million subs. He is hilarious.
He helped with the trailers, with the hype trailers for the new characters. He actually helped the team with that.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he's like he's the one that started the trend of bring back KI. Like that's him. He's responsible for that. He's talked to Phil personally about Killer Instinct. I hope that. And listen, this is not going to be a surprise. I'm an old man, folks. I grew up on platformers. I had an opportunity to talk to Phil last year, which was probably the highlight of my career because you don't really get a chance to talk with him. I did. And I'm going to say Banjo-Kazooie. We need to bring the bear and the bird back. And it's crazy that it hasn't happened already when you
didn't it win some kind of tournament too, like as far as like iconic,
I will tell you what it won,
or something
Crispy
like
Bomb.
that.
It won the best duo character in gaming over Jack and Daxter, Mario and Luigi, Zelda and Link. I mean that this is the BAFTAs that did this poll, and the bird and the bear beat out everybody.
I don't know, Boom. I think you hacked that poll,
I don't think I did. I did not proof of that. There is no proof of that, sir. I take these accusations very seriously. So I mean, for me, it's Banjo-Kazooie. I really, really want this. And look, I'm not even a greedy dude. Like, we see what remakes look like these days. I mean, obviously, The Last of Us, not on PC. I'm talking about The Last of Us for the PlayStation 5. Mm-hmm. The remake was very well done. It looked amazing. Resident Evil 2 and 3 were freaking phenomenal. Final Fantasy 7 is really, really well done. They could just remake the original. I mean, the blueprints are there. Just remake the original. You don't have to do a new story. You don't have to do new levels. Just remake the original and give it the next gen polish.
It's a
Make
no-brainer.
Yeah, it really is. Make it look like Ratchet and Clank did on the PlayStation 5. Because again, I know Ratchet and Clank doesn't sell, but I'm sorry to say, folks, if you are a platformer fan like I am, you can't walk away from Ratchet and Clank on the PS5 and be like, yeah, that game sucks. You are crazy if you suggest that. Maybe it's not your type of game, but that thing looks like a Pixar movie that you're playing. So, with that said, Crispy Bomb, here are the 3 questions for you, brother. What game do you expect at the show? What title are you hoping will make it to the show? And what surprise do you want?
Well, I'm actually with you on Avowed. Obsidian is Obsidian's kind of dirty. I mean, they just drop stuff, man. Like they have like literally been like, hey, here you go, kind of thing. And you do have the Outer Worlds 2 there too, so it could be either or. I think a lot of people would be happy with either or. I'm gonna be honest. You know what I really hope for? Of course, it's the Phoenix Collection, for the love of God.
Can I just stop you there for a second? Because if you listen, and again, no one reported on this, folks. I caught this because I watched that. They got 5 views from me. I watched it front to back. I just thought it was an amazing interview. And again, I really do like Kind of Funny's XCast. I like everybody on there. Gary Witta is, who he is. I love Gary. Snowbike Mike is amazing. And what could you say about Paris? Paris is freaking awesome. He's so awesome that he jumped on to the Gaming Circle podcast while he was hanging out in the chat this past Saturday, and he brought some real fire that a lot of people didn't know. I'm telling you, get over to the Gaming Circle podcast. That's Kay Asante's show. Paris literally jumped on there for an hour, and that was dope. Crispy, he said, and I quote, bunch of games, update the games that are on your list, Paris, and collections. He said collections. What does that mean? I think there's a Fable collection potentially somewhere in there because we're not getting Fable for a while. And I'd love to see them reintroduce the brand and, brand new graphics for everything. But I think that Phoenix collection, it exists and it needs to drop.
I just, I go back to and I've said this before. What better way to really use the tools and learn them in UE5 than to redo? I mean, number 1 is technically redone in UE4. You know what I'm saying? So that one's kind of like, you don't have to do a lot to it. You have to make it hit different. And that's where I say the way the movement is and stuff like that, upgrade it a little bit. But 2 and 3 haven't been touched. You know what I'm saying? And it's like one of those things where I'm like, a lot of people will have the argument. It's 1, 2, or 3 are their favorite Gears if they played them. If they haven't played them, which you got to think, those 3 games came out how long ago? There's a lot of generations that have not even touched that. Either they're not Xbox gamers PC or whatever players. It may be. How do you, and that's where I go and say they're going to do that too, because Gears 1 was on PC. We got all those, they got that whole extra act from PC because they were able to do things that were higher level. That is the coalition. And that's where I go and say the Phoenix collection needs to happen. If it doesn't happen this year, I'm okay. But I've been asking for it for at least 2.5 years now. Okay. I want to see it because I truly believe that if people play those games in a newer look, the way they push graphics and everything at the coalition is incredible. And that's why I go and say, isn't Avowed made? Isn't that made in UE? I have to go look. I think it's
pretty sure that Avowed is Unreal Engine 5. I'm almost positive.
So I'm caught that's the thing. A lot of people forget that the coalition is a 380, almost 400 person freaking studio. They could split it in half and still make something. Maybe they canceled something that was this crazy project, but I'll tell you right now, nobody's leaving that studio right now. You know what I'm saying? We had Rod leave. That's about it. I mean, Mike Crump, he's the leader right now. Nobody knows that. He's been there for, I don't even know how long. This is an inception. You know what I'm saying? So you know, there's a lot of people that know UE, and a lot of studios and Xbox are using UE. I just hope that they have something for us sometime soon, because there's a lot of people that love Xbox because of Gears, like myself, and we want something, and that would be a love letter. I'm sorry. Other than that, you know, what I could hope for, you know, when it comes down to it, we want some kind of superhero thing. We want something. Even if it's in, you know, the gaming zeitgeist, like, you know, bring out an old IP and bring it back to the forefront. I'm not even going to get specific about it, but, you know, something that hasn't been touched in years, but has
remake
a character.
Hulk Ultimate Destruction. How about that, man? I mean, remember that game?
I mean, there's so
awesome.
many games that have been sitting there for 10, 15 years, IPs, like iconic characters that if you saw them again, you'd be like, oh, wow, I forgot about him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to leave it at that, because there's so much that hasn't been touched in so long, especially on like the Konami side and stuff like that. Like, there's so many games that have just been left to the nothing verse. And even if PlayStation does it, I'm fine with it. You know, and that's where I go and say, like, you know, we got to look at this objectively and say, you know, our hope, can it be our hope? And I think they're going to hit some of that hope, because they've already shown the majority of the show, in my opinion. They've already told us they're going to show more of, you know what I'm saying? Which is fine. We want to see it because they haven't done it. But at the end of the day, we do want that one more thing. And you got to bring that back, Phil. We don't want, I think he knows the 12-month thing screwed up. He said it. Let's be honest here. Do your traditional show. I thought all their shows were pretty good, except when you don't hit what you're trying to deliver.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. Other than that, I say go for it and give us that one more thing. And I think that's something that we do look forward to as a gaming community.
Oh, we all do. Listen, Steele, before I bring you in on the conversation, brother, I want to catch up on the super chats. First one of the day comes the way of Six Slayer. Drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Double Barrel Gaming. Ally, as in someone is on your side, not ally, as in cheating. Thank you, brother, for the $5 super chat. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. Jordan TJ says, hi, everyone. After dropping a $2 super chat, Jordan TJ, welcome back. Kingfish 737 drops a $5 super chat and says, hello, Boom and panel. What if Xbox shows Fable gameplay as a surprise? Hashtag gaming's for everyone. Yeah, man, I'm all down for that. Mario 187, that is the stalking Mario that King made a big laugh today, drops at a very generous $5 super chat and says they should partner or acquire Wukong and the studio. Yes, and yes.
Yeah,
we should
Black
do
Myth,
that.
100%.
But Black Myth Wukong looks ridiculously good. And that's a studio. I mean, listen, if you the talent that's coming out of Korea is crazy. It is, and you know, obviously, a lot of those games look very Sony-esque. I would love a lot of those games to make their way over to Xbox. I don't care whether you drop them in the Game Pass. I don't care if you do marketing rights. I don't care if you make them exclusive or you leave them multi-plat and you drop it in the Game Pass. Get involved with that region of the world, because their talent is just off the charts bonkers. Gamer by Choice, what's going on, brother? He drops very generous $2 super chat and says, remake Splinter Cell. Need Sam Fisher, damn it. Yeah, I think if you look back to the last gen, gentlemen, one of the biggest travesties of justice is that we didn't get a new Splinter Cell. We got Cheapy Charlie, little Sam Fisher into the Division, got him into Ghost Recon. That's not my Sam Fisher. He needs his own game.
Yeah, they announced it though, didn't they? I think they announced it. They're making one.
They did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Ubisoft. Who the heck knows at this point? Steel Rain. Let me ask you the question, brother. What game do you expect at the show? What title are you hoping for? And what surprise do you want?
Okay, so as far as what I'm expecting, of course, I am going to say Motorsport. That's just what I expect at this point. You got to give people a reason, like I mentioned earlier, to show them what the console is capable of. Because since release of these consoles, especially on the Xbox side of things, we haven't seen that. My hope, Christmas stole one of my hopes. But that's just a selfish thing. And again, it's one of those things that more so because Gears is slept on, there's also a negative connotation on Gears because it has become an extremely hardcore game to play. Unless you're a certain type of gamer outside of the campaign, once you jump into that multiplayer, you're probably going to uninstall it if you're not going to stick with it. The other hope for me, again, is just I want them to reach out in the East. No game specifically, since they already missed out on Stellar Blade. That was one of the number ones that I've been kind of adamant about for some time before Sony went in there. And is now apparently publishing the game, full on giving them support. Just because that would have been a feather in the cap for Microsoft and that would have answered the question, well, where's that type of game on the Xbox side of things?
Mm-hmm.
So there's one. But the other thing is I want to see Xbox just dive more so into their multiplayer bag and get those more MMOs and things of that nature. Outside of that, I don't have any other big hopes outside of some of the ones I mentioned earlier, like that Chrono Odyssey. The big surprise, let's see. The big surprise would be them bringing Certain Affinity out and announcing the Halo Battle Royale.
Holy matrimony. That's a good one, dude. Yes, that's a good one.
For me personally, I think that needs to release this year. At this point, if you're going to pull all that, well, I'm not going to say pull because we don't know what's going on. But if all that talent is leaving 343 Studios, and you're still having the content issues that are still pretty obvious, although they have gotten better than previously, something has to happen with whatever Certain Affinity's got going on. And if they truly have a battle royale in the works, then hey, this is the time to show it, or at least give us something. Again, hopes and dreams. Give me a reason, especially as an avid Halo fan. Give me a reason to truly want to talk to my friends and be like, hey, let's jump back into this, right? Let's get in here, have a good time. It's not what you traditionally want from Halo or what you would expect from Halo, because that's the other thing too that people tend to forget about, is that Halo is also an extremely competitive and hardcore game when it comes down to it. Sure, big team battle can be fun, custom game modes can be fun, but as far as people just jumping on outside of like the custom server browser that they implemented, outside of that, you have to feed your hardcore base. And with that, you need more maps. You need to bring more content in and give them a reason to continuously want to step in that ring, stream these sessions that they go on, and just make it more appealing. Because, like it or not, gaming has kind of taken a turn to where a lot of the people who are paying attention now or are watching, it's not about watching those guys who are getting 20, 30 kills. It's more so, hey, are these people entertaining? And is the game good? So that'll be the biggest surprise for me. That would definitely take my hype level back up to 10 or beyond if Certain Affinity came out on the stage and said, hey, this is what we're doing with Halo. So those would be my choices.
I love the picks.
Nice.
Love them. John Wolf, let's get your hot take on this, brother. What game or what first party game are you expecting?
All right, boom. So I'm greedy. Okay, I want them all. All right. So I honestly though I do expect them. As I mentioned earlier, whatever they debuted in 2020 and that E3, I expect them to show some type of gameplay. You know, for the Avoweds of the world, the Perfect Darks, the Fables, Indiana Jones, Hellblade 2, etc., etc. I know it's just supposed to be one, boom, but I want to be greedy. I think that we're owed that, so I'm putting that out there. Hoping, I hope that Xbox reached out to a company like Eidos Montreal and said, hey, you guys did such a banging job on Guardians of the Galaxy that we'd like to sign you exclusively. Your pick of the Marvel Universe, will pay for it. What character you want to tackle? Do you want to do a Guardians of the Galaxy sequel? We'll fully pay for it, make it exclusive on the box.
That's a strong pick, dude.
Yep, for a year. And you know, let PlayStation feel it a little bit, you know, because in my opinion, Guardians of the Galaxy can go beat for beat with Marvel Spider-Man any day when it comes to the story. So I'd like to see
Story-wise,
that, or even if they were to say, all right, if you don't want to tackle the Marvel universe, have your pick at the DC universe or even the Star Wars universe for a Mandalorian game or something like that. But we need something with that pop culture vibe, something that's going to bring in the masses, and of course advertise it on Game Pass, because again, it's all about growing those subscriptions. And for the surprise boom, I know it's probably not going to happen, but I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off hope here. I would love to see some type of Halo Doom crossover project
Oh, that'd be
be
kind of
an,
dope, dude. Yeah.
be announced. It could be. I'll even settle for Project Tatanka to be some type of Halo Doom like hero shooter type thing. That Creative Assembly, I think that's the team that's working on it, is working for Microsoft, which will be their version of Minecraft. Bring in all the different IPs that Microsoft has under their banner, because when Microsoft purchased Bethesda, that's something that I remember. Boom, we were on a lunchtime special show
Yep.
with you.
You sure
We
were.
we talked about this, and at that time I mentioned to you, if Xbox doesn't put a Kevin Feige like figure in charge of coming up with projects to have a synergy between Bethesda, Xbox, and potentially Activision down the line, what the hell are we doing here? Okay,
Yeah, it's true.
if I was in charge and I was in Phil's shoes from day one, I would have been like, I want something in the pipeline for the next 5 years where we start crossing over characters. We've seen the success that has brought for Marvel. It completely changed the movie industry, and they have the potential to do the same for gaming. Okay, announce something in that Halo Doom universe. It could just be a teaser with them back to back. Dude, that would blow up the internet, and
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff that Microsoft has to leverage. And again, it's not that difficult. They already own it. So it's just putting your best foot forward.
I love it. Everyone's picks are just solid. That's a great pick. I like the idea of characters crossing over. I've been saying this for years. They have enough characters to do their own kart racer, a la Mario Kart, and they certainly can do their own fighter, like by having. I mean, again, this is where Killer Instinct comes in. If you don't want your your Smash Brothers, which I wouldn't want them to do that, right? But you can certainly bring in a Master Chief into Killer Instinct. I mean, they did it with one of the other Halo characters, right? The General Ram was one of the characters from Gears. Who wouldn't want to see Master Chief versus Doom Guy in a fighter? Like, who wouldn't want to see that? That's the kind of announcement that literally stops the internet in its tracks. But look, we only got half an hour to go because this is going to be a 2-hour show. We're going to get everyone out of here, but we got to talk about the ROG Ally. Tomorrow is the event. This is one of those situations where this came literally out of nowhere. I mean, I didn't know about it when I saw it. I mean, the pricing and the first of all, the tech in this thing. And I'm going to go first to Hargeet on this because Hargeet really understands the tech that's in this thing. I pulled the story from Windows Central. It was written by Rebecca Spear. This came out yesterday, and they had the announcement that tomorrow is the event. It's going to have the release date, the pricing, and all of the official final specs on this thing. I think, though, what was incredibly interesting about this, besides it having Windows 11 as its main OS, like it's not going to be side-loaded on like you do with your Steam Deck. It's running Windows 11. Why this is exciting for me, because I'm a plug and play guy. I'm buying the top model. I'm going to buy the $700 model. I've already sold my Steam Deck. I don't miss it because I didn't use it. It literally sat in the case. I turned it on once to download Resident Evil 2, and I was like, yep, this is just way over my head. It's not for me. I want to just press the screen, Game Pass, download a gameplay. That's all I want to do.
Want it easier, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Intuitive.
Well, we have learned from this article that Rowan Soames, who is the CVP and the head of Xbox hardware at Microsoft, is one of the keynote speakers. So, I mean, listen, I'm not an alarmist in any way, folks, but if why would this person be there representing the Xbox brand if there wasn't going to be some sort of an integration or partnership? It just doesn't make any sense. So, Hargeet, is this a day one for you personally?
Yeah, I'm planning on pre-ordering it, right? So I hope they open it up. Best Buy is going to be one of the retailers, so for those in the US at least,
Nice.
you hopefully can get
Okay.
it pre-ordered there. They're
Might
planning to
do
make a
that.
lot of these, right?
That
Best Buy
pre-orders
doesn't take
tomorrow,
small.
Hargeet?
Tomorrow's the event.
I
Yes,
believe that's the case. Yeah, they're going to announce the price and the pre-orders. Yeah.
I will. I'll read directly from the article. Tomorrow is the event. You can go to Windows Central to get exactly all on how to watch it. But apparently, this is what it says and what you need to know. The ASUS ROG Ally is the upcoming gaming handheld that runs Windows 11 and is a direct competitor to Valve's Steam Deck. The official ROG Ally launch event on May 11th will discuss the handheld's specs, release date, and pricing, and other details. And so the event tomorrow is going to give a release date. They're probably going to open up pre-orders, and you're gonna get the official price.
Yep. Yeah, and as far as what we know so far, there's going to be the two models, and the lower model is a 6-core, 12-thread Zen 4, so it's an AMD APU, so Zen 4, and then it's a RDNA 3 based GPU at 2.8-inch T-flops, which is not bad. It's more than the Steam Deck, so that's a pretty good device. But then they go to the higher model, and it goes to 8.6 teraflops, 8 cores, 16 threads. So RDNA 3 and Zen 4 again. And both models come with 16 gigs of memory, and then you have NVMe storage. I think it's half and full terabyte. It looks very impressive as far as on paper what you can do with this thing.
Mhm.
The lower model is closing into what you would get with the Series S. The higher end model is closing in on what you get with a PS5, and that's going to be in your hand. Right, it's a handheld with 120 hertz display, 7-inch. It's 1080, right, but it is 7-inch, so that will be more than enough. So
It has that micro SD slot, Hargeet, for expandable storage
for expansion, though it'll be slower. It's a faster slot. The micro SD is one of the highest performing ones. However, it will be slower than the internal. But again, Windows doesn't care, right? So you can go ahead and play your game off of it versus the the speed requirements or performance requirements on the PS5 and Series S and X. There you can do whatever you want. It's Windows, so you can play your game whichever way you like. The cool thing here is it is Windows, so you can get the Steam store, you can get the Epic store, you can get the GOG store, you can get whatever one you want. You want BattleNet,
Game Pass.
you got Game Pass, right? All of it's there, so you can do whatever you like. They have their own custom interface that's going to be on top of it, but and I don't know if it's based on PlayNight, but PlayNight exists if anybody wants to use it. It's a freeware thing that hooks up into all those stores and gives you a console-like interface. But we'll see what they do with it. Their interface may be perfectly good, so we'll see what they come up with for a UI. And I think that's part of the thing that they're doing with Microsoft is to kind of make Windows work correctly with that, right? So that it feels like a console. The Steam Deck is Linux based, so that has a different paradigm versus Windows, right? So they're going to try to work that and make it work. And Microsoft's been working with them, building.
Yeah, I was
this
actually
device,
going to say that were they were working with them from inception of this thing, right?
Exactly. It's been quite a bit of time. It wasn't like something that came up like in the last year or two. They've been working on it for like 5 years or something. So they've been playing through it. They've been creating different form factors and seeing what works and shapes and what works. And so they've done a lot of work on trying to make it as useful in your hands, right? So usable. The controls are just straight out of Xbox. So it's got the same button, the A, B, X, Y, all that. So it's pretty cool. And it also has Dolby Atmos speakers built into it. But yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a pretty good device. Now these are leaks. I don't know how much accuracy there is to this, but the price is supposed to be 600, 700. So 6 for the lower model, 7 for the higher model. Again, those are not confirmed in any way. right? But those are the leaks that we've heard about from as far as what the price is going to be. It sounds awesome. Basically, like, to me, this nullifies the need for any cloud gaming. Why? You can just buy this thing. You literally have a PS5 in your hand. Why do you need anything in the cloud? You can just download the game locally and play it, right? Full performance. Like, why do you need to go to cloud? Xbox does only 1080 for cloud right now, 1080p, right? So you've got 1080p, 120 frames on your device. Like, it sounds perfect, right? So I think this is the future direction. This is what's going to happen. You're going to see more and more of this. That processor will get shrunk down, become cheaper, and go into other devices. And that's you're just going to keep seeing that happen. 5 years from now, that will be junk. It's just the way the technology works, right? And so that junk can show up in any other device, right? Your TV could have it. And it's like, well, you can play 1080p, 120 frames built into your TV. Like, why wouldn't you just address the game directly to that? That's what I think. That's where this is going. But this is like that stepping stone, right? So we were hearing it's very hard for Xbox to take the Series S, shrink it into a mobile form factor. Well, they've been outdone by ASUS is now putting out a double the performance mobile handheld that's going to have all the ability to play every Windows game. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is something special. I love the fact that Microsoft was involved from the ground up. This completely removes the fact of, Xbox got to make their own handheld. No, actually they do not have to make their own handheld, because they can partner with someone and they can get in there and here we go.
There's one other thing that's interesting in this. Is that you can expand this to become a desktop as well. So they have a docking setup, so you can have keyboard, mouse, video. But it can also take, if you want to expand the GPU capability, you can plug in for a very large amount of money. You can plug in up to a 4090. This is the mobile version, not the desktop
the mobile version.
The mobile version of a 4090
still is impressive, regardless.
It's a lot of power. So when you're docked, you'd have more of a desktop rig with with the same box. So all the stuff that you've already got installed, everything's right there, and you can just pick it up, take it, keep playing. Dock it, you have your desktop mode.
If you are super mobile all the time, that'd be the perfect solution for somebody to have you have all the power available to you. It's all packed up and ready to go. You got to get cases for everything, sure, but if you're in and out of hotels all the time for work or whatever the case, always
traveling,
it's so perfect.
I'm super excited for everyone that's interested in this, because where everybody's at and where you're at, Boom, right now was where I was at when the Steam Deck was releasing. Had no idea anything about PC gaming, not interested at all. Didn't want to tweak, didn't want to be beta boys, nothing like that. And all of a sudden, I started tweaking, and Kay Asante, actually, me and him chatting on the side, I actually got the Steam Deck very early, and I sold it off for a profit, for a very large profit, right? But him and me talking throughout the months, I pre-ordered one again, and I got it, and I gave it a chance, and it completely changed my outlook on PC gaming. Me and Kay, we're gonna start a show later on, to talk about kind of the stigmas about PC gaming and all that good stuff. But let me tell you, I'm super excited for all of you guys, because once you get your hands on and you start with the tweaking and you start seeing that it's not as bad as people make it seem, this knocks down those barriers, where now, a Boom, you're gonna, even though you don't like to tweak and you just want plug and play, you're gonna see that how easy it is, and all those stigmas are gonna be removed.
No, I mean, it's a good point. It's definitely a good point. Crispy Bomb. I know some things behind the scenes, so I don't think this is in the wheelhouse. Are you happy that Xbox is getting in on the ground floor with this?
I am. Seems like they've said, you know what, we're not going to make a handheld, but we're going to fully support a handheld. And it seems to be this one over all the other ones. Yes, you've seen, Phil touting this, that, and the other. Phil likes his partnerships. I mean, let's be honest. It's not a bad thing to work with other companies. This also goes against all the things we've been talking about. Microsoft has a track record of using their technology to help other companies sell their hardware or even software at times. this is like, and I'm not even going to go into the fact that, what we have been talking about for almost a year and a half now, feels like, you know what I'm saying? But they have shown this far before any deals they've made. And that's what drives me crazy is that, people want them to be stern and to the point. But I mean, really, what Hargeet described is basically the way Microsoft's treated every PC that allows them on there. Okay. Apple to be the exception. We all know that. Okay. But at the end of the day, they're pretty good about having partnerships, and they seem to be touting this one. So I'm intrigued. No, do I have an extra couple $100 of what I've already spent? No. Take what I got, chill out, have a couple of years. Boom knows exactly what I'm talking about with that. But at the same time, it's not even for me. I mean, I'm like full on plug and play.
Yep, that's me.
You know what I'm
Sorry,
saying?
I don't mind being a simpleton like that.
That's why the ROG Ally is perfect. Yeah.
And maybe when it reduces in price, if that's the price, we're not saying it is, but if I'm pretty sure the way you were describing it, Hargeet, it's probably around there somewhere. If it's 500, I think people will be surprised, but you're going to be on a huge waiting list. I think it's going to be a little higher than that. The amount of technology in such a small thing is very hard to do. It requires a lot of engineering, a lot of hardware, a lot of partnerships. Asus is not AMD, but yet they're, these are partnerships. Like this is not a bad thing that Xbox does partnerships, and I appreciate that. I'm interested to see how much they integrate Game Pass into it. I think maybe they have their own like full-on interface, or they just completely, revamp and do everything for Asus as far as, any interface and everything else, completely like Windows, like the way it is. Game Pass, like you're going to have like little tiles that pop up, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, this is the new game from Game Pass. Bam, right there. Download it. Have a good time. You don't even have to play it on the cloud. If it's too big for your memory, well, maybe they, be smart and say, you don't have to erase anything. You just use the cloud a little bit. We'll download with part of a game, and then you use the cloud on the rest. And, these are things that are options as we get farther and farther into the cloud aspect. And I think Asus is good. Anything I bought from Asus is pretty good. I'm just saying, what I'm saying? Like they really put the work in, and I think for them to go this far, I mean, this is kind of a stretch for them. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested when you guys get it in your hands, how you feel about it. And then I'll make a decision on whether I really want it or not. You know what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. Obviously, I'm not at the wait and see because I really want something. I've been asking for a handheld like this. This is exactly right up my alley. The rumor, Steel Rain, is that this is going to come with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which tells me that the partnership is real. Because if they're offering that in every one of these things sold, it's going to be they intend it to be associated with the Xbox brand. You're a tech guy yourself. You're a PC part of the
PC. That's not a rumor, by the way, Boom. That they said that. So
they did confirm it. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So
when COG was there in New York, they actually said that.
Oh,
yeah, it's going to come with 3 months Game Pass. Yep.
Well, there you go, folks. Live on the air, you heard it. I thought it was just a rumor. Now we have it on confirmed authority that yes, it is. So it's definitely that Microsoft's got something with them for sure. Steel, is this a day one for you, man?
Day one, I don't necessarily think so. Mainly because I'm not on the move enough for it to be reasonable enough for me. Now, if there is one that I'm going to get, I may end up getting it just because, more so than anything else, because I do believe in the tech. And especially if they bring it in at a price point that is extremely competitive. Well, I don't see anything wrong with supporting that because we need that competition. Steam Deck obviously put it out there and made it more streamlined because, again, these devices aren't new. There's been these PC-like handhelds for some time, but they've always been astronomically priced. And now seeing the Steam Deck and then now ROG Ally, again, like Crispy was mentioning, especially from Asus, who are typically a little bit higher up on the echelon, especially price-wise, but they are quality. If they are able to come into and be that direct competitor to Steam, I think that's perfect, especially with Xbox being the one to jump on board with them. Because again, I have never thought that Xbox needed to jump into the handheld market. They just needed to support. Again, you're a software company. Work on what you're good at. You have other things to worry about than diversifying yourself into handhelds all of a sudden now, outside of just providing software support. And again, it's coming with Windows preloaded. I know a lot of people are probably going to end up putting the Windows 11 Lite on there just to open up some additional resources. But yeah, man, I mean, I think for most people, what also is extremely interesting about the ROG Ally, and why I said it is more of a competitor for the Steam Deck, is because of that easy plug and play, like you were mentioning, Boom. I could hand you the ROG Ally and you'd be like, oh, this is like my computer. And I'd be like, yeah, that's exactly how it works.
See, now that I know how to work with.
Exactly. And then, if you decided to mess with Steam, or if you decided to mess with Xbox, it would be up to you to build that library out from that point, because you're already familiar with that ecosystem. It's the only negative thing that the Steam Deck necessarily has. But again, for those who know, there are devices like the Switch and other handheld devices that may be locked to one ecosystem. You can always end up opening up if that's where your investment is currently.
Right.
I do think I will say this: if you have a Steam Deck, I don't know if I would say, hey, you should trade your Steam Deck in or sell it and get this device. I would only tell you that if you're like Boom in a situation, like a Crispy in a situation where you're like, man, I just want plug and play. I just want to be able to turn it on. I know what it's going to do. I know where I need to go, and boom, it works. Now I don't need to go through any extra steps, fiddling and tinkering. I'm not that guy. So it's extremely interesting to see, man. I'm hoping the price is competitive. $700 is definitely a key. Would definitely be like perfect, if anything.
It would, yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm considering it, but it's just one of those things where I'm kind of on the edge of it, because again, I'm not traveling enough to make it a heavy consideration. So,
I mean, that's a great point. And last to know, at least in the conversation, and again, I'm glad we saved you for last, because you were like me. You weren't a PC guy. Now that you've had your chance to tinker around with, of course, Valve's handheld. Where does the ROG Ally fall for you?
For me, Boom, it's a pass for me, because I'm already satisfied with what I call my triple threat of the Steam Deck, my Razer Edge for streaming, my PC or streaming from the Xbox, PlayStation, or from the cloud, and my consoles and stuff like that. So I'm more than satisfied with what I have right now. I also have Windows side loaded on my Steam Deck, so I kind of have an idea what you all are going to be getting. And still, I do have the light version of Windows.
exactly.
And
so
it does, yeah, it does free up a lot of resources and a lot of it's just the way to go. But again, I'm happy because, like Steele said, you have every major company jumping, and that's good for competition. It's good because it's going to drive down prices, and it's going to lead to more innovation. ASUS here is trying to put a little bit of the squeeze on the Steam Deck, offering a 1080p display.
That's crazy, bro.
At 120 hertz. I will want to set expectations here. From what I understand,
that's plugged into the wall, guys.
Remember that depending on the game you're going to be playing, guys, and this is something I had to learn the hard way. Don't expect here a 6 to 8 hour venture here. Okay, make sure that you also get yourselves a portable battery through Amazon, because if you are going to be on the go, you're going to have to recharge this sucker every probably 2 to 3 hours, depending on the game that you're playing. And when it comes to the tweaking and stuff like that, you all will learn that, even though it'll be awesome to play at 120 hertz, a certain game, you might want to knock that down to 60 to save on battery. And this is where a device like this, Boom, it's gonna really educate the masses that jump on this, like
Mhm.
myself, as I learned with the Steam Deck. I had no idea what frames were. I didn't care if a
You know
game
now.
released, and no. And once you get that taste, and once you get educated,
Become obsessed with
it's kind of like, what am I doing here? You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, we're in the Xbox One generation. 30 frames per second Redfall wouldn't have bothered me. It does now,
Yeah.
because I know what
Mhm.
these consoles and PCs and handhelds can do. So once you kind of pull back the curtain and see what these devices are capable of, and you see the difference in the performance, and you see the buttery smooth frame rate and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to go back. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I'm very excited for anyone that's going to jump on this. Hargeet, Boom, you guys are gonna love it. I am very curious, as I know that even though that Microsoft is kind of partnering with all of these companies, and it's a smart thing that they're doing, and I understand what they're doing. I'd still like them to release something of their own. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I could see that.
yeah, it would be very fitting if they do something like that. And I know all of a sudden the worries are gonna come. Oh, but that's another SKU. They can barely now keep up with the S and the X and all that good stuff. But you know what? Why limit yourself? Microsoft has the money to do it. They have the resources, and they can throw their hat in there as well. I'd be shocked if PlayStation doesn't bring out something of their own in the next 3 to 5 years. Sony's DNA is hardware, so I'm
Mhm.
sure that they're salivating at devices like this that they would love to pump out. So I think that Xbox needs to kind of also throw their hat, and bring out their own, and also partner up, and just cover it from all angles. So I'm really excited for you guys. I look forward to see what you guys think, the feedback, and more importantly, I'm gonna be looking at those performance reviews, because if I see that this sucker is kind of outperforming the Steam Deck, I might be tempted.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, you know the Steam Deck in and out now. You didn't before. Now you have it on good authority. You know what you're looking for. This has all the bells and whistles. That's why I'm going to get the $700 one as opposed to the 600 for storage, for the SSD storage. One is 500, the other one's a terabyte, which is again, I'd rather just spend the extra $100. But ladies and gentlemen, considering that this show potentially limped out of the gate when it was just me and Hargeet, which is,
Hold the line.
hold the line. Everyone here stepped it up big. We had an amazing 2-hour show. Let me just read the 3 super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. David Lyons drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Xbox needs, I like this choice, a real Conan game. Conan as a character is just as ruthless and savage as Kratos. That I remember that Conan
Nice.
game for like the 360.
That was great.
That
Yes.
was actually really good and brutal, by the way. Stay high _ triple F drops a generous $5 super chat and says, we all know about the bells and whistles of the Series X. Do you think that the ROG ally, I should say, is going to utilize the bells and whistles? I kind of do. I feel that it's a handheld. ASUS, that's what they do. And I mean, is there going to be some tweaking? I would imagine there's going to be tweaking. For me, I'm just going to hit Game Pass, play a game, and I'm good. So if you are a tinkerer like John Wolf and Kay Asante and a few others in Steel Rain, hey,
you're gonna learn, Boom. You're gonna learn. Trust me.
We'll see. I don't have enough time to game, let alone tinker, because of 5 shows per week. But last super chat of the day comes away of Gamer by Choice, drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, does Xbox / Microsoft supporting ROG mean they innovate? Social media says Microsoft does not innovate in gaming, and I always listen, or I always believe what social media tells me. Laughing my ass off. I think listen. I'll push back on John's point where I think that I don't think Microsoft should do their own handheld. I think they need to focus on Xbox Game Studios and continue to deliver top quality AAA games, which is what we expect. This is the promise. This is why they're partnering with the ROG Ally because they don't have to. They're not in. They've probably invested in the company, but they're not taking any risks.
That makes
Ask
sense.
Sony how that risk for PlayStation VR 2 worked out for them, because you haven't heard boo diddly from about that. And you know what's going to wind up happening? They're going to kill that off. Next year, it's not even going to exist. And if it does, it's going to be shovelware. That thing did not sell. It sold so poorly. They're acting like that it never happened. Oh, well, what VR? We don't have VR on PlayStation 5. What are you talking about? That never happened. What are you saying? But let's get to the outros. Hargeet, let's sell your brand. Game On Daily, known as the septic sauce now, thanks to
Mr.
thanks
Gaz,
to
yeah.
Gaz, and the silent killer, Asa, as he's known. Talk about it, brother. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on in gaming. You and them have been on top of it, as you are. You're going to be on the show this weekend, which is pretty awesome. Talk about it. Sell it.
Yeah. So definitely check it out, youtube.com/GameOnDaily. And I'll be on Go Live this Saturday, 4 p.m. US Eastern Time. And Gaz is doing some more freeform stuff on his channel, Septic Sauce. Check that out. Subscribe to that as well. He goes even more nuts on that one. So, but he also streams games. If you want to check him out playing, I think the last one he did was Sekiro.
Yeah,
so
he did. He got really far in that game. He loved it. He loved that game.
Yep. Check that out. And then of course RDX every Tuesday, 8 p.m. US Eastern Time, and then right here 7 p.m. US Eastern Time Wednesdays at Primetime Gaming with Boom.
Thanks again for not only being here tonight, Hargi. Thank you for jumping on this afternoon. We had an amazing conversation. If you missed the over 900 people we had in chat to talk about the ABK situation with the EU Commission being rumored to be passing it, we don't even know if there's going to be any concessions. I was hanging out with Hargeet. I was hanging out with King David. I was hanging out with Post Up. And we were there with Everborn Saga as well. It was an impromptu show that was only meant to be an hour and maybe even a little less, because it was originally just me and King David. And everyone responded to the DMs, and it was wound up being a 2-hour show. It was phenomenal. Lots of great laughter, lots of great talk. That's still live on the channel right now. And of course, again, Harky, thanks so much for being here. John Wolf, brother, thank you for jumping in as you did, because literally, folks, we were 1 minute to kick off, and I DM'd John, and here he was. He goes, "Yeah, I can jump on." And of course, we love having John on here, not only because he's honest, but he's a tactician. He understands tech now. And John, sell your brand, brother. Talk about where people could reach out to you on social media, potentially strike up a conversation, and what you got going on with your YouTube channel right now.
Yeah, Boom. No, not uploading anything. I haven't really uploaded much, but hit me up on Twitter, and I hope that everyone that missed tonight's show, man, is doing well. I know that Kay's wife and kids were sick, so I'm sending him, all the best, and everyone else as well. And thank you, Boom, for giving someone like me an opportunity to jump on here and just throw my bars out there, man. And I appreciate it. And if I could be here for you, man, I will.
Well, we love having you, John. You were on Breakfast with Boom for a long time, and obviously, real life stepped in the way after when everyone had to go back to work after the pandemic. And listen, you're welcome here anytime you have the time to be here. We love having you a part of the show. Crispy Bomb, he went from grill master who didn't even eat dinner to podcaster extraordinaire. Of course, we love having you, Crispy, here, and you're going to be back at it for Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom. I'm working on that show literally right now. Sell your brand, brother. Where can people find you on other shows? More importantly, reach out to you on social media.
I've become very linear. I mean,
Yes,
I saw 3 people, on the panel, and I was like, yeah, well, I have the link. Let me just jump in here. I mean, that's me though. Like, it's like the bat signal without you saying the damn word. Boom. You know what I'm saying?
I love you for it, brother.
So I look at that, and that's, I mean, really where I'll be is wherever I'm needed. And that's really like a point I want to make to people. Like, if there's something going on, and Boom or even Xbot, which I want to be on the next podcast tomorrow, 8 p.m. check me out there because I am like completely slanderous and crazy. I'm very linear on here. I love Boom. Friday is up in the air. Boom.
Yeah, it's all right, brother. We have more than enough people.
My mother is in the hospital. I don't know if you know this.
Dude, I didn't know that, brother. I'm so sorry.
I posted it on Twitter, but I mean, it's fine. Like, I'm not sitting here like, trying to like, have people like, oh, boo hoo. Like, my mother's a strong woman. Like, she went through a small surgery. She's doing well. If anybody's been following that, I've had to switch days off. So, but the following week I'll be on Breakfast with Boom.
Yeah, listen, brother.
So
you take care of family first, brother.
Next podcast, Breakfast with Boom, until the foreseeable future. Yes, I might pop in. Primetime Gaming, you need me? I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm like that salesman. Like, I'm here. No, but at Chris Baum on Twitter, if you want to hear my thoughts, as far as writing and everything else. Like, I don't know. I make good points about stuff, and a lot of people ignore it, and that's fine. But I mean, I don't see a lot of people hating on what I say, which
I don't think so.
I
think
appreciate
you make great points,
as well.
Brother.
So salute to everybody. I mean, hold your loved ones a little close once in a while. I mean, even if they've done you wrong, sometimes they do you wrong, but you're in a better place than they are, and you gotta be an advocate for them sometimes, and that's something I've learned in the past like couple weeks. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to brush my shoulders off and say what happened in the past is not the future, and what is going to make me feel right in my heart is not going to be what I felt in the past. And I think it's hard for people to understand, but moving on and understanding that that person or that feeling doesn't have to be a part of your life forever, and you can be the bigger person. I think that's really hard for people, and I hope they understand. It's just like when you leave every show, Boom, and I think a lot of people are starting to take notice, man. So I appreciate you. Just a few words at the end of the show. That's a huge thing, man.
I forget.
Yeah, actually, had someone reach out to me, said that on Twitter. As a matter of fact, it was the Wolf of Darkness. Actually, shout out to that dude. He was so moved by some of the things that I do say, and those are not originals. Those are my dad taught it. Honestly, that's not BS. My father literally taught us that when we were kids. He said he's going to teach it to his kids. That's freaking crazy because my father, which by the way, today is my father's birthday. He's been gone a long time, but happy birthday, Papa Boom, who did it right.
And Crispy, you got me, man. I forgive Jim Ryan for trying to block the. No,
I love it. Steel Rain, brother. I need you to sell your brand. You guys are getting close to that 1K. I think you guys are going to do it. You're in the 800s, folks. Listen, Living Split Screen, Saturday morning. It's a 3 to 4 hour show. No fluff. No nonsensical BS. It's from the heart, two gamers, Steel Rain, Pong Soul, two amazing podcasters, two amazing voices. Sell it, Steel.
Boom, man. I appreciate everything that you do for us in the community, man. But every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time. I am one of the hosts of a non-console-centric platform covering everything going on within the gaming industry. Home of the RTS approach, where you pull yourself out of the world, look at the darker crevices of the map, you pull those resources together, and we build up that foundation so we can potentially reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer always talks about. With that, we're on the road to 1K. We're getting close. We're getting up to we're over 800, I know for sure. So every little bit of help definitely is great for that. But only if you really enjoy the content that's happening over there. With that said, Boom, again, I want to thank you for leaving that back door open. It was wonderful chopping it up with you guys. It's always great having conversations. And again, I'm going to continue to say this and beat this drum. Guys, there's nothing wrong with having conversation. We can all agree to disagree. And other than that, I'll leave you similar to what Boom likes to do. Something that my mom told me. Don't expect for other people to think the same way you do. With that,
I love it. I love it. That's good stuff, brother, and it's the truth. That's I mean, your mom's smart. That's a great point. And listen, how could you argue that? I mean, I think it's a very logical explanation. Steele, thanks so much for sharing that with us and being here, brother. Like I said, I didn't even anticipate you being here. Everyone that showed up, thank you so much. And of course, we had almost 600 people here, which is awesome. A big shout out to anyone that found the channel for the first time. If you did and you're not subscribed, we're on the hunt for 13K, and we can get there with your help. Obviously, again, if you're just finding the channel for the first time, I stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Usually it's mid-afternoon. This is the only late show of the week. It's Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. But I do have 4 other shows. 3 are dedicated to Xbox because it is my preferred platform. But we do have obviously Primetime Gaming and Breakfast with Boom, which are multi-plat shows. And we do talk about Nintendo. We do talk about Sony. And if you want, conversations that, again, are not sold via hate mongering or clickbait, check us out. You're definitely going to love it. And of course, a big shout out to all the super chats that come in. I really cannot thank you enough for supporting the channel, both through super chats and through channel memberships. And again, I said this before, and I'll say it one more time. One of our big giveaways this year is to support the team and their families that are building currently Stalker 2 as an Xbox exclusive. My wife and I have dedicated all super chats until we have enough money for it. We are purchasing 15 copies at full price, $76.43 here in New Rochelle, New York. 15 of them at full price, and we're giving every one of those away. Your choice, PC or Xbox, and it's our small way of helping a team that was displaced, and their families went through a lot going through the Ukraine-Russian war. They were displaced, and again, it's our small way of making sure that they get paid. And again, this is no corporate sponsorship. Microsoft is not giving us the games. We are logistically paying for those 15 games and just giving them away. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And thanks again. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.